Welcome to the 7th episode of the Mechs on Deck show. We are here today talking about the influx of GMK interest checks and in turn group buys. That's kind of taken the community by storm in the past couple months, or it's just been insane. But first, we're going to do a what's on your desk. So, Chewy, what do you have on your desk today?
I have. This is my tofu plugged in. I don't want to cause a crisis of it being plugged in, but it's a gray tofu, wind keyless. It's got, I call them MX creams. It's basically just the stem of the novelty cream switch inside of an MX black, and then I put 80-gram springs in it. Lubed with 3204. Feels great. Sounds cool. It's a great little board. It's kind of my tester board. It's got ePBT grayscale. Great set with the mint add-on kit. So it's a cool board. I enjoy it. I've been enjoying the linear life this week.
Getting that linear life going. For me, I have what I just built. I'm also not going to unplug this.
Don't drop it.
I'm not going to drop it.
Break your desk in half.
This is my antique copper TX60 with JTK purple on white. I am loving this board. Built it a couple days ago. Just released a video on it on Friday. This past Friday. It feels great. It's got 65 gram Zelios in it. They are lubed with a little bit different of a lube. It's the Finish Line dry bike lubricant. I just wanted to try that out, see how something that's, I guess, more of a typical product would be, not something that's typically used as a keyboard lubricant. I know some people have used it. I know a lot of people like to use it on the Novel Keys cream switches. But it feels great, and it sounds great, and it works well for the gaming purposes I use this board for.
Absolutely. So our topic today, we are talking about GMK, specifically GMK interest checks, because there have been quite a few. So the process typically, before we dive too far deep, when people want to run a set through GMK, which is the kind of the top of the line cherry profile keycap sets or keycap manufacturing company, they will run through Unikey, which is basically, I mean, they make keycaps, and they make fantastic keycaps, and especially since they opened up custom colors in the last few years, we've seen a lot of different keycap sets. And so typically what you will run an interest check on primarily Geekhack, but a lot of times Reddit and Keep Talking, other websites as well. And so people will throw up their interest check, see if they can potentially hit like an MOQ for their colorway, and see if it's worth running. So that's basically the process of that. And with the recent call it technological advance of a website called Keycap Renders, we have seen a huge influx of interest checks. Cue the name. So Eric will take us to the website, and we'll show it off real quick. So this is the site. Very simple to use. I've used it multiple times. It's basically, it lets you kind of put whatever color you want. You can put, you can have it kind of do the base layout, and they have a lot of different boards you can put on it. And it's actually a really awesome tool in the community. It has been great for kind of driving creativity and seeing what people can do. And the other thing that I think that I've really been enjoying is for boards that I know that I want, and particularly in a different color. I I've been going in and making a keycap set that I already have, or a keycap set that I've already made, or that I've is on our ugh, I can't talk today. Sorry, on the way. And I'll put it on the board and kind of see a picture or a render of what my board. So
Yeah, this is really cool because it has different. You can get different boards that you can render it to. Quite a few different boards that you can actually work through. They even have like brand new boards that aren't even out yet, like the Polaris, and then the 8X MK2, which is significantly closer to being out. But yeah, so there's there's a lot of different things that you can go with. You can change your backgrounds, your legends. You have full selection on everything, even down to the actual keyboard color for the render itself. Um, this is freaking awesome.
it is awesome. And it does create quite the interesting dilemma, though, because, and what we're talking about today is this tool has been given to us and it's great. But a lot of people, and it's helping people get into custom keycap designing, which is great. But we are also now seeing 3 to 4 interest checks a day. And so what we're talking about today is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Um, because it's a very open, kind of an open field of the interest check world and of keycap design world, because there's not a lot of pretty much anyone can go in, design a key set, and throw it up on an interest check and potentially get this thing to run. So the first thing we're going to talk about is original ID, because in our community, I see it a lot, specifically with the GMK Olivia set, where basically anytime anyone releases something that has anything to do with pink, we get a lot of people, kind of calling, well, maybe are you just copying? Are you just, making a key set that looks exactly like someone else's? And at what point is it, there's not really a governing body. So there's not really a way to, you can't copyright these colors. You can't copyright a colorway, at least not yet. No one's done it yet, as far as I know. So a lot of these people, will make an interest check, and then someone else might make an interest check. And you're seeing very similar keycap sets, and there can create some tension.
Yeah, and I know we've seen this in the community quite often, even with some recent group buys where it's like a keycap set that's in a similar colorway, but maybe a different profile. Not necessarily all GMK. Maybe one's GMK, the other one's like DSA or SA. And then you have two people who are running group buys that are similar, and both can be successful, and there's some tension there. And I think that's a good point of like, we haven't seen anyone try to copyright or get to the point where they have the ability to take legal action on their designs. And I think eventually, as this hobby gets bigger and bigger, and you have different designers like Zomamon, for instance, designs keycaps. He pretty much has a set running every couple months. It seems like, he's someone that could eventually be like, hey, I'm going to copyright my colors when I do a custom color, just because he is so well known in the community and has the ability to more or less do that. And I think it would be respected if someone did start copying his key sets, to kind of protect himself in that way. So we'll see. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think we could get there if it becomes a bigger issue. I think we definitely could get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there is this kind of sense of calling dibs on a colorway, that it's a very touchy subject, because if someone thought of a colorway, there's probably 10 other people that have thought, you know what would look good together? These three colors. And there's only so many ways you can combine 3 or 4 colors. And so, this kind of we've come into this like little calling dibs where if someone creates an interest check and it's this kind of base colorway, then if someone else creates that, then that starts becoming, well, that just looks like the other set. That just looks like the other set. And where do you draw the line of, is it different enough? Or have you just stolen ideas and all that? And how do you prove that? And it just it's very touchy and very doesn't sit well in the stomach, because there are people that work very hard on these colorways. And we've had someone in our Discord even has been working hard on a GMK keycap set, and then another one released that looked very, very similar, and it was kind of like, well, I missed my time. So I don't think we've hit the point of where people are just making colorway interest checks to kind of call dibs on it, but it does kind of potentially force you to go, well, maybe I should put this up sooner rather than later, so that I can kind of have dibs on this colorway. But it's an interesting and kind of touchy subject. So, and the next thing we will talk about is on that with forcing interest checks. There are obviously very proven interest check runners and group buy runners that will run very professional looking interest checks, and they look great, and they have plenty of renders, and they're not just from keycaprenders.com, and they've got lots of boards, lots of options, and they've got renders from GMK, and that can really change the way how successful that group is. So
Yeah, and I think just what you're talking about with the different color schemes, I think it does get kind of hard if you are using like base GMK colors, and that's one thing about like calling dibs on it. It's kind of hard to when it's a base GMK color set. Like for instance, GMK 9s is 2 standard GMK colors. Like someone could go in and just change something. Like you could just change like one of the modifier colors and it be considered a completely different set, even though it's not really 100% different. So it is kind of all a gray area, especially with the standard GMK colors, just because you don't really have as many options. It's not like you're spending 3-6 months figuring out with GMK, hey, does this keycap that GMK sent me match the Pantone that I modeled this set off of?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and with like cut the GMK colors already, I would love to see more base GMK colorways, just because faster, cheaper.
yeah.
You're going to get your keycaps faster. There's already a pretty wide selection of colors. And I'm actually, more and more surprised that people aren't using these base colors, because I understand that they want it to be exactly like, whatever their theme is. But at some point, some of these interest checks, if you're wanting to run these, you might go, well, this is great and all, but my MOQ is lower if I use a base color. Your MOQ will be lower, and it will wind up being cheaper for you overall if you run more of a base colorway. And like we said, we saw that with nines, not just 2, not even 3, 2 very basic colors. And that's why they were able to release an entire set. I've been loving the lower prices of GMK sets, because they've been taking out numpads and stuff. But the base kit for something like GMK Waves was about $10 cheaper, but they left out a lot of options for you in that set, and you don't get the numpad. And some people might not need it, but for the almost the same price for GMK 9s, you got the entire set.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, if you're looking at where the price difference is, right there.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's been great for the community. It's been great for the success of those group buys, especially as we, I think, what was it? A couple weeks ago, there was like 8 GMK
at
sets
least.
running all at the same time. Some of them on like originative, which kind of doesn't really count because those are going to hit MOQ no matter what because they just purchased them. Um, but I think that those lower prices are definitely going to help with reaching MOQ because it's going to be like, oh, instead of spending $160 for a base kit, now I'm spending 110, and maybe I can save a little bit and also get something like Striker that's running a base set at $100.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as far as like similar colorways between sets and color schemes, to I think each person has to kind of more or less answer that question individually. I think I think it's okay, especially when you look at sets that are like older that aren't necessarily going to ever be recreated. I think if you release something that's like close, obviously I'm not okay with someone being like, "Oh, this is basically camping, but I'm just going to call it something different and change like one key." Like I'm
GMK Christmas.
yeah, I think
The red's just a little bit brighter.
yeah, I think if you can release something similar but change it up enough to where it's like an original idea, but you can obviously see someone was really inspired by a different key set. Um, like take for instance GMK 9009 and the upcoming GMK 8008. Obviously, there's a lot of like in the way the keys are laid out, even with GMK that versus GMK muted, it's all like a similar style, but they change it up enough to where it's a unique idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like the difference between muted and 9000 huge because it's a warm colors versus cooler colors, but it's almost the exact same set. Um, so that's the perfect example of you can get away with similar color schemes as long as they're different. And I'm not saying that you should be basically just going, well, GMK Olivia is great. How can I make something that's basically GMK Olivia, but go well? Like I wouldn't just go for that, but I'm just saying with people who are wanting to potentially run an interest check or make a keycap set, you know, just because it starts looking like something doesn't mean, and the best part about interest checks is it's an interest check. At the end of the day, you can run it, and if people are like, nah, then you just move on.
yeah,
Like there's no, you're not, even with keycap renders, you're not losing money. You've lost a little bit of time, and it just puts you back to square one. And no one that I've seen, no one's really going to if they start calling, oh, you copied this, you copy this, you can just say, hey, I'm sorry, that was not my intention of this, and move on. Most people are not going to hold it against you because you didn't profit from it. You just threw out an idea, and our community should be open to viewing any and all, no matter what. You're not free from criticism of those ideas, but you should at least feel open enough to go, hey, this is something that I've been working on. So,
yeah, absolutely.
but there are a lot of benefits, though,
Mm-hmm.
to this mini interest check, which it's great as a consumer. It's great if you're a vendor, absolutely. And it's seeing a lot of people. Sorry, there's like someone yelling outside of my apartment, but there are a lot with having this many come out. It really, or at least come to interest check, and hopefully a lot of these do come out. Um, it can be the colorway that, someone might make the colorway that is perfect for you, the colorway that you have been looking for. I had been, whenever I first started, my favorite color is green. And whenever I first started, I told Eric, I was like, I just really want like a green keycap set. And I found Max Key Lime, which is great, but I'm not the biggest fan of like electric lime green. And it wasn't till I found GMK Camping that I was like, oh, oh, this is it. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. And so, you know, there are a lot of colorways that I think people would love that have not run yet. And so, with the ability of having this many interest checks, you can start pulling in people from different aspects of how they kind of view their keyboard experience. And you can really get exactly what you want, which is great.
Yeah, I definitely think it's great because you can really diversify your different keyboards and what you have based on all of these different interest checks, and a lot of them at this point, a lot of them not failing from an interest check standpoint and actually getting to group buy. And it's great because what was it, 2 months ago we had like not very many blue based GMK sets. You know, you had only a few with like Nautilus and stuff like that,
TA 90 Nautilus.
and then Space
Other than
Cadet.
that,
But
yeah.
now we're like freaking got blue coming out of our butts. Like
Blue is color of the year in 2019.
yeah, it seems like every set right now has some, you know, shade of blue in it, you know, between like Metropolis and Striker and Bento and
what's the
Mizu.
Star Trek one, the Star
Yeah.
Trek themed one, or I can't remember.
So
GMK Rocket.
yeah, so it's like cool. It's you can just kind of sit and wait as a consumer and be like, all right, I want a keycap set that's in these colors. And at this point, with how many that are actually coming out and are getting into interest check, you can be like, once your keycap set that you love that comes out in your preferred colorway, you can just be like, I want to be in on this.
Let's do this. Build the hype. Go. Half of this community, half of being a part of this stuff that may or may not actually make it.
Yeah, you put that you put that little banner in your Geek Hack, so that way every time you post on something, you kind of put a little hype out for your favorite keycap set. And
I think mine's still GMK camping.
Probably. It's okay.
But and then on top of that, if you're like, man, you know what the coolest colorway ever is going to be like red and orange and purple, and I want to make that. And if you make an interest check and you have, you know, if it's a GMK colors only and you have 100 red, orange, and purple as a colorway, you can get the exact keycap set that you want. And that's awesome. You know, getting exactly what you want can be hard to come by.
If someone does make that set after this, it needs to be like
dibs.
GMK Royal Fire.
Yeah, Royal Fire.
That's the name. But yeah, no, I think it, and like you said, it does improve the creativity in the community because it allows you to utilize what we talked about before, like keycap renders. If you don't see something that you like, you can go make it and just throw up an interest check and be part of this little influx. And who knows, maybe your wild red, orange, and purple keycap set might end up going. I mean, we've seen crazier sets happen.
GMK Royal Fire, look for it. Interest check coming soon.
I mean, hell, look at what Jay made with GMK. I guess it's called Americana now, but yeah. If that ever actually happens, it was an April Fool's joke, and then now it's like at the point where it's got so many people who are wanting it that they might actually make it. Who knows? We'll see.
It's anything can happen in this community when it comes to stuff like that. That's what's neat. So we've talked about benefits, downfall. The first one that I will talk about is we've seen a big test in the community of GMK sets selling. And I think because we are in tax refund season, our community was able to thrive. It was able to put a lot of GMK sets through group buy, reach those MOQs. I know like Nines hit it relatively. Mizu's about to hit it if it has. I know that I'm going blank on the novel keys one.
Metropolis was
Metropolis. Sorry, I know Metropolis like hit huge numbers. Eclipse hit. Just so all these waves hit in like 14 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it was
So
ridiculous.
we've seen a lot of GMK sets succeed, but with this many interest checks, we are in that rare time of tax refund season. But can the community support that many GMK sets at a time? I think we are going to see a slowdown of how many are being run at the same time. But that also means that we have failing interest checks because there will be less people wanting to put group buys up. So
Yeah, I think you're right with that. I think with based on the timing between it being just after the holidays, people have a little bit more liquid cash, and then they get their
GMK
they
liquid cash, look for the interest
there you go,
check.
yeah, and then they you go straight from the holidays into like tax season where people are getting they're getting little something something from Uncle Sam.
little spare change.
Um, you have a lot of extra money kind of lying around, and you could support that little keycap set that you were thinking about getting that you may not have been able to get before. I know personally because of that, I was able to get in on two sets, being nines and waves. I think Chewy got in on the exact same sets. But
We like to keep it diverse around
yeah,
here. Right?
yeah. You'd think as a channel we would probably try to get every set, but we're just gonna get two of the same ones all the time.
Our friend did get Metropolis.
Yes, he did. He did.
So I don't think anyone got Eclipse that I know of.
No, but I don't.
Of the big ones, we
Yeah.
have all three between us.
Yeah, and I'll probably end up getting Striker as well. I like that. I know Chewy's not as big of a fan of those sub legends, but yeah. Besides that, I think, like you're saying, there's a downfall. I think we could flood the market and have interest checks failing, group buys failing. If you did this in a time that maybe the economy is not doing as great, or maybe people aren't having as much liquid cash. I think if you get to like the midsummer, early fall portion where people are starting to say, okay, I got to prepare for the holidays again, and I'm now my money that I'd be spending on me, I'm spending on gifts for other people. I think that's a time where if we have 9, 10, 12 GMK sets running at a time, if your homie isn't into keyboards, those sets might not do as well.
Yeah. So, and then, and you never want to see a group.
No.
I think that, excuse me, I think that I don't, to me, what should happen is if you don't think it's going to happen, cut it off at the interest check level, because I have seen where group buys go to group buy and fail. And it's sad because, as a designer, you don't, they're just people that are trying to create an awesome keycap set. And I've seen them happen before, and it just kind of stinks because, you have 100 people want to get in on this keycap set, and then, 100, all those 100 people now no longer get to get that keycap set because there just wasn't enough interest. Maybe it was at the wrong time, or maybe there was too many sets coming out, or whatever. But we don't, we want people to, and I think we're starting to see vendors kind of weed that out. We're starting to see vendors really be selective on what sets they're going to run and just being very smart about it. And we're seeing more vendors too, which is great. Canon Keys is one that ran GMK Waves. They're starting to kind of pick up momentum when it comes to running these group buys.
Yeah, and you've got like the Key Company. They've run some sets, and I know like what was it, GMK DMG, the one that was like based after a Game Boy. That one, it's a beautiful set. It's really cool. I think it was not cut down, and it was kind of pricey, and it was a higher price, and it struggled to get there from an MOQ standpoint. I think it actually finally did, but it did kind of.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be very wrong, Krellbit came in and bought a bunch of sets to kind of hit that MOQ spot. So shout out, obviously, and glad that shout out
the meme man himself.
He's in our Discord. So, but he, I could be completely wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he came. I don't mind as making a business decision and running this set or getting this set. So, we want as many of these sets to kind of go through, and I think we are starting to see vendors pick up on like which ones are going to do well and all of that. So the other thing that is a downfall, but this just comes with everything, whether it's shoes, guitars, cars, everything, is if we, there's going to be 50 keycap sets run this year probably, and if it stays at this rate. And we're going to see older keycap sets start to creep up in value, and we've already seen that. The aftermarket has taken quite the seller's market turn as of recent, with some of these sets kind of gaining a lot of resale value. And I think they're only, hopefully the thought would be that there's enough GMK sets in the mix that people will go, I don't really need GMK laser anymore with, GMK Mizu out. I can just get that because I like that just as much. And so it could level it out, or it could just go, yeah, that set's great, but I want GMK Serica. I think that's the best
Yeah.
set. That's just going to rise those. And the older they get, the harder it's going to be to find, less used, no shine caps and all that stuff. So it's just it's I'm interested to see where it goes, but to me personally, I think it's just going to increase the price and value of some of these older sets.
Yeah, I think what you said is exactly correct. Because what happens, and this happens in a lot of times in other hobbies, um, the keycaps, especially because we're in this like kind of little bit of a bubble right now, where the community is growing significantly. Um, as the community grows more and more, there's going to be that key set of old that is almost legendary to these newer people who say, "Oh wow, I saw that on Reddit. It looks amazing. How do I get that?" And that mystique will build on these older key sets like Camping, like Olivia, even to the extent like Nautilus, stuff like that, where they were successful when they came out, but their success pales in comparison to,
Skyrocketed.
well, it pales in comparison to what the success can be now because of how many people are in the community.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like if you ran Metropolis this time last year, it's not getting to 1,200 kits. But I think because of now the community is so much larger and it seems to be growing significantly day by day, um, it's going to make those older sets like a super popular set. Olivia is up to like what, 300 and something dollars for a base
Yeah,
set.
if you can find it under 300, it's a solid deal for
Yeah.
like not saying it is a solid deal, but you are lucky to find it currently under 300.
And we're
And
like,
that's a set that when it released, it had a lot of hype, but I don't know exactly how many base kits they had, but it did not. It took 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks to hit MOQ.
yeah.
And we've seen sets hit MOQ in a few days.
And we're only at like that set's first birthday. Like it's not even a
Yeah,
year old.
it was well, I guess it was either April or May. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, this time last year was the interest check, and it released in November. And that set being that popular is
Scary.
unbelievable. It's crazy.
Yeah. And like Serica is like a set that,
That's younger than
yeah,
that
it's
was.
like that was run on Massdrop not even that long ago.
Mhm.
So I think what you'll see is you'll see these older sets are going to shoot up in price, but the newer sets are not going to be, because there's going to be more of them. I think you'll see a steady out. I think you're not going to be, it's going to be a situation where a keycaps set comes out and 2 months after it gets, shipped out, you can sell it for 80, $100 over list price. I think you'll be able to sell it for a little bit more, but I think it will be closer to what that list price was, which I think is healthy for the community.
Mhm.
I think that'll be good for people who are coming in to see these sets, be able to go find them on Mech Market, not pay an arm and a leg or $400 for, or $800. I think there was like a story of some guy paying like $800 for a base set of Serica a couple weeks ago. It's just insane because
Insane.
like, and you've got sets like one of mine, for instance, Hyperfuse Origins. That's a set where there's only what, 200 of them, like the original
250. Yep.
250, and it's like,
Allegedly, I think it's
yeah.
about two.
if you have an unopened kit of that, there's going to be a point where it's going to be like ridiculous what you could sell that for.
Mhm.
Or like round one hyperfuse. That's how many years old is that now? Like,
Three, at
yeah.
least 3 or 4.
So it's just, I think you're going to see those kits shoot up in price, but the newer released sets aren't going to be as insane. I think you'll still have some outliers in that. Maybe some, I think there'll be some group buys that, because there's so many of them, I think there'll be some that maybe didn't do as well initially, but then the set comes out and people are like, I wish I would have gotten in on that. And that will increase that price, but I don't think it'll be as insane as before.
Yeah, we are nosediving to personally. What I feel is we are nosediving. Uh, I can call it now in May of 2019. 2020 is going to be the year of round twos. I think we are in a absolute nosedive towards. We are already seeing keycap sets. We had Carbon round two happen. Oblivion round two is going to happen this year. We are in a full steam ahead of either V2s or very very similar sets, where they make a couple changes, but for the most part is the same, kind of like how Hyperfuse released like their Hyperfuse Origins V2 with purple mods instead of the turquoise mods. So I think that that's where we're kind of headed
Yeah.
after a lot of these, because um, these prominent designers like Oblotsky and Zombumon and Olivia with her, she's coming out with Olive, and all these other designers are, with all these interest checks coming in, they're kind of going, all right, well, back to what we were talking about with calling dibs, we need to, release some of these, we might not be able to get, one of them could have been working on something that looks exactly like some of these interest checks, and they're not going to be able to do it that much more, or at least release it as an original idea. And so that's why, to me personally, that's why we're starting to see stuff like Serica's coming out in MT3, and Laser right now is for sale in SA and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like. And to me personally, those sets will always sell. Like that's they've made their 3-4 sets, and they could just sit there and cycle those over and over, and I think that they'll totally be fine. But um, that kind of hurts creativity. It hurts, at least with these known by runners. And another thing I forgot to mention was Mito ran Godspeed in MT3. So we're seeing, that's why I think we will run out of colors,
Yeah.
or before too long we will run out of colors, and V2s are going to be the wave of things. Because if GMK Olivia launched, that set would sell out. That they would have to cap it. I think so many people would get that set.
Yeah, and I think what would be cool to see these people do, obviously, you don't necessarily have to do this if you're running from GMK to like SA or GMK to DSA or something like that, or MT3. But if you run a V2, doing something like a little bit different to keep the round one, like what Hyperfuse did, where they ran it a little bit different each run. So then that way there is oh, this is round one, like this is the original
First edition.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Back to the
think I think that
Pokemon
would be
cards.
that'd be cool, and that would give you a little bit. You can input a little creativity into a V2 that way. I will say I do love the fact that there is sets that have done really well in a GMK variant that are going into like SA or MT3. Like right now with Laser, just looking at it real quick, this has been up for what, like 4 days, and it's already got almost 300 kits sold on just the alphas itself. You're looking at, this is going to go into the 500 plus range on a couple of these different kits. Obviously, they do for the SA, they do the little bit more exploded key sets for it, but it's really cool to have those different variants in keycap sets, because not everyone loves GMK, not everyone loves SA. So I I think that's really cool, and you get a little bit different color variants also when you switch the to like an SA, because it is a different type of plastic. It shows the color a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. So, just kind of wrapping up this topic. Final thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, I think we're in a awesome yet somewhat scary time. I think if you're planning on getting into keycap design and you want to do a interest check and then go hopefully into group buy, use keycap renders, see how it's going to look before you invest a lot of time. If you do go into group buy and you're using something that is a non-standard GMK color, be prepared to spend some time and get some samples from GMK. Make sure that your colors match up, because the worst thing you want is, those keycaps to be shipped out and not look like they did in your renders and not be even close. That'll really put a bad taste in people's mouths and kind of hurt yourself in the community. So just be prepared for the amount of work that's going to happen, especially as if you have a key set that pops off and all of a sudden you're dealing with 1,000+ set run. And if you don't want to run that, don't be afraid to cap it. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm going to run this, but I'm only going to run 2 MOQ and no higher. Don't be afraid to do it. Do what you want. Just be prepared to put in the work to get where it needs to be.
Yeah, I think the two things for people running interest checks: one, look at the people group buy, because those interest checks are there; they don't go away. And go look at, the Metropolis interest check. Go look at pretty much anything Zombumon's ever touched interest check wise. Go look at how he does it. If you are serious about getting this to go, make sure that your interest check is professional and it looks clean. You have renders. Contact the people. They're just people. They're just community members. They're not these hotshot celebrities. So if you're looking to go, hey, do you think you could do renders for me or something? I'm sure, I can't speak for all of them personally, but I'm sure that they'd be willing to help out with, getting them to, or you can, help pay them for some renders. And so you can kind of put forth that effort. And two, I'm not 100% on this. I know Zombumon did this here. But whether this is something you can do, something do, I would like to see the ability for people to start getting color matches before the GMK set runs. I'm not familiar enough with
The process.
the process, but I would love to start seeing keycaps come in. I would love to start seeing keycaps where you can go, hey, here are the key. This is the colors matched up. This is exactly how it's going to be. And that solves two things: one, timing, and two, that shows that's the color, not this is a chip of the color and we're going to try and match it a bunch of times. That's the color. If you like it, then great. If you don't, sorry.
Yeah.
It leaves a more firm response. And like I said, I don't know the full details of this, but I think that can really help with the interest checks and getting to group buy.
I think the other thing too is, like we talked about earlier, if your set's close to something else that has come out before, but it is a little, you've put your own touch on it, don't be afraid to defend yourself. People are going to undoubtedly, someone's going to say, hey, this looks just like Olivia. Don't be afraid to defend your idea, defend what you've done, the work you've put in, and the work you're prepared to put in. And like Chewy said, if that's something you can do logistically with working with GMK and get that color sample before, that's going to do amazing things for the success of your interest check and your group buy, because people are going to know, they're going to get into that buy knowing, hey, this isn't a situation where it's going to come out and I'm going to be upset with the fact that it doesn't look like it did or what I expected it to look like when I got in on it.
And it's going to shorten the time, because you go, oh, well, if they've already got this, I'm not going to wait 4 months for a color sample to come in just for it to be not a good sample. So with that, we'll wrap it up for our topic. We have one quick announcement before we do keyboard of the week. Eric, I'll let you take over for the announcement.
Yeah, so we are going to be changing up the channel just a little bit. We're going to be almost kind of not necessarily doing away with Free Talk Friday, but we're actually going to dip our hands into streaming. We're going to try to stream on every Wednesday night, and it's going to be the same style of a Free Talk Friday, but we want to get y'all more involved with it. So if you can follow our Twitch, it's going to be linked down below. We're not sure if we're going to start next week or the week after, but we'll definitely make sure we keep y'all updated and make a post so that way everyone can know. Please join the Discord. Any updates and when we go live will be posted in the Discord. And come in, talk with us, and we enjoy talking to y'all, whether it's about keyboards or really anything, but we're really excited and we're happy to kind of delve into a different space and really try streaming out.
Yeah, and that's not going to affect our Tuesday episodes at all. We're still going to be releasing Tuesday, or every Tuesday. So for our kind of normal episode or our normal structure. So, but yeah, we're excited to kind of take that next step into something a little different, something that could be helpful to and just be a little more fun. So
yeah, and we will re-upload it to YouTube. Still set for that Friday as well. So if you can't make it out to the stream on Wednesday night, don't stress. You'll be able to watch it back over on Friday as well.
Yep. So keyboard of the week. Give it a drum roll. All right. Ham Kenobi, user Ham Kenobi on Reddit. This is a custom Cerakoted M60A in purple with Oblivion. Oof.
Yeah, oof. I think the biggest thing for me is that you took the time to take this somewhere to get the purple put on the M60A. I think
absolutely
it looks great. Oblivion is a set that kind of looks good with really everything, just because of the fact that it is such a muted color in itself overall. So I think it looks great. The purple almost perfectly matches, like it perfectly complements the purple on the backspace key and the tab key, which is really cool. I just think it looks really good. Obviously, I haven't messed around with this board in person, so I don't know how good of a Cerakote it was initially, but it looks like whoever he had this done with did an amazing job with it, and there's not any like super glaring imperfections in the finish. So it's a fantastic board.
Outstanding board. Just, I mean, well done. Got the Rama Waves cap as well. Ham Kenobi, shout out. So great board. Keyboard of the week.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to like, comment, talk to us, join us on our Discord. We're going to post our Twitch link below as well, so you can start following us and get the notifications when we go live. And like I said, hit us up. Eric said earlier, hit us up on Discord. We can talk about everything. There was a 3-hour conversation yesterday on a keyboard and wild conversations. So, come by, say hello, and we appreciate your continued support.
Yeah, we I think a couple of days ago, Chu and I just sat in one of the channels and had people come in. We're gonna start probably doing that more, just so we can kind of get to know y'all, talk about keyboards, talk about whatever, and just kind of we want to know y'all. We want y'all to know us. So we just want to be involved. So we're excited.
Get a Switch tester. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good evening. Good day. Whatever.
Whatever time it is. Have a good time. Bye, Switch Tester.